But Rudisha, what's the time? It's a world record! A world record here in London at the Olympic Games from the greatest middle distance runner we've seen for a very long time. It's David Rudisha, 1:40.91 is shown on the clock.
I needed to win that Olympic, and the best way, after I sat down, I did all my drawing and going into such a big event whereby there is no room for mistakes.
This is one of the greatest runs we've seen in Olympic history. He's retained his title.
He was a championship runner, he was a world record holder, he had everything in place and everything went well.
It's David Rudisha, 1:40.91.
He was prepared mentally.
That was absolutely incredible.
Top form, top of his game. He had everything in place when he came to London.
Is astonishing, absolutely astonishing. He promised it and he delivered it.
I also admire, even sometimes, I do watch myself, and it's sometimes funny if you watch yourself running, but this is one of the races that I still watch, and I just remember everything, and it's just as fresh as, like yesterday.
David Rudisha, 800 meters world record holder, is a man who was brought up and nurtured by Brother Com O'Connell. Brother Com is a native of Melo Island who joined St. Patrick's as a teacher in 1976 and became the head teacher in 1986. But it is his role in athletics that he is most famous for. Brother Com has shaped world beaters, majority of them being former students at St. Patrick's in Eton. Greatest of them all is 800 meters king David Rudisha.
Fourth place, John Stewart in fourth place, in a position to go for the medal. America way in front, Interior chasing, west to Germany.
Inspired by what his father did during the 1968 Mexico Olympics, young David Rudisha had his own dreams to chase.
They're 30, 40 yards in front. Kenya next, West Germany next, Poland next, and Great Britain I don't think will make it unless the others have gone too fast too soon.
Knowing that my father was an athlete really influenced my life in a certain way that I wanted also to be like my father, and that's always the dream of most of the young boys, and sometimes young people. They want to do something or imitate their role models, and my father was like my role model.
During the 2004 Athletics Provision Championship slotted for Camarines Stadium, young David Rudisha was tasked with the responsibilities of representing Transmara, and it is during that period that he first saw a man who later transformed his life.
I saw a white man just walking along the school ground, and when I was going through the school compound, I saw so many trees planted by famous Kenyan athletes. And I started making inquiries from the student from St. Patrick's, and I knew that there's a man behind the success of athlete in Elgeyo Marakwet, specifically in St. Patrick's, and I didn't get a chance to meet him in person, but I knew that, and I had some information that normally attends this sporting event, and he also sent the coaches that he works together. And if your performance is good, you likely might get a chance to be invited to his training camp.
Our meeting was a little bit accidental. In 2004, the primary school provincial championships for Rift Valley were held here in Cameron Stadium. And David came to represent Transmara. He's from Kilgoris. And they came with their mattresses and they slept in one of the classrooms. And I think David saw me walking around the compound, so he was asking, you know, as a shy class 8, who's this Mzungu? This guy was a rather small Mzungu going around the compound, and he was told, oh, that's his brother Colum. And of course he was struck a little bit by the because obviously my name had been around. And he saw also the trees planted on the compound by various athletes, including Wilson Kipketer, whom he would succeed as the world record holder. So I saw him running in Cameroon that day. He was running the 200. I think he came 4th or 5th in the final. Other than his height, he was quite tall for his age. There wasn't much more that would catch your attention, but I said I kind of just remember him. Maasai, tall, and then sometime after I saw him running in Kitale, and I said, this young man, I'll see. So we chatted to him and we invited him to our training camp, and he came. When I asked him first, what is your name? Oh, David Rudisha. And I said, there's only one other Rudisha I ever heard of. Daniel Rudisha. Are you related? He said, yeah, he's my father. Aye. And I said, okay, the genes are right. Whether everything else is all right, I don't know, but the genes are right.
5th April 2005. David Rudisha, just 16 years old, walked to St. Patrick's in Iten. A shy boy who was destined to star.
It was so exciting to be invited to a well-known camp that I used to see in the media when I was young. And I can see some of the athletes who came from the same school with their names, and to meet them was so exciting. And I knew that this was a breakthrough, and I'm in one of the best places. And what is just remaining is to do my best and to see if also that my talent is there and I am in the place, the best ground. So it was just a matter of time and patience.
They wasted no time. 6th April 2005, David Rudisha's training together with others officially begins. Rudisha was a 400 meters young athlete during that time. 10th April 2005, David Rudisha on this actual day got his first pair of running shoes.
Small shoe.
It's better to be born with the right size feet when you come to Colum's camp. Good. Rudisha, we hope you will be as good as your dad in 400.
Have you all registered? Huh? You want 8 or 15?
A time trial was cooking, and Rudisha was shifted from his usual 400 meters to 800 meters race.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Who is not here?
I had no option but to run the 800 because it was the shortest distance. So I was a little bit hesitant to join. So because I was somehow, not very comfortable, running an event that I've never tried it before.
Oh, David Rudisha followed. Good.
I knew that I was good in 400, but I was not sure how the 800 will go. But toward the end, I wanted just to sneak somehow And as they were taking the names, they found that in the list of the 800 and below, 800 meters and below, I was not present. So they had the number, and the coach asked Amos Rono, who was one of the coaches, there is somebody, there is one person is missing in the list. Well, the numbers, so there's one person, and I was just standing aside, so I had to raise my hand, and I had no option but to join.
This is part of the intervals, and it is a trial.
It was very exciting because we started the race with no experience, so I was just running, like I was just following the rhythm, with the others, just being in the group. Until toward the last 150 meters is when I realized, well, I still have some energy.
Yes!
I decided to release the gas, and definitely I won that race, and it was impressive because I ran my first 800 in 150.
Very good, Rudisha. 150.
At the end of the 3 weeks 2005 April's training camp, Brother Com gave young Rudisha and the team a reality talk.
I'm going to make a special request to you and give you a special piece of advice. Decisions that you make now about your life as an athlete may affect how successful you're going to be. Any decision that you make, think about it carefully before you make it. Many of our young athletes never make it to senior level. We have maybe 50 athletes here. Only about 10 of you might become successful seniors. It is not how good your legs are, it is how good your head is. Everybody will want you, and everybody will try to look for your attention when you're winning, when you're a winner. But the day you lose, bye-bye. They don't want to see you anymore. The day you start losing, they don't want to see you. So be careful about that in athletics. Because some days you're going to win, some days you're going to lose. For many of you, maybe 2008, 2012, you might even be Olympians. Where will you be in 2012? That's a big question for you now to answer.
David Rudisha had been given a taste of some good training, and after that camp, he went home and simply could not stay away.
You could see that he just wanted a system and a structure to train in, because he went back to Kilgore's, checked out of his school, packed his box and knocked at my door here and said, I'm here, I'm staying. This is the place I want to be. So I said, yeah, that's a bit of a shock coming back. This is a bit of a surprise. So we got him into school, and for the next 4 years, Form 1 to Form 4, he never went home. He would go to school, stay here with me during the holidays, until he was absolutely determined he was going to make it.
I wanted to do much better. I wanted to improve in my training and of course my races, because I was preparing also for some championships that were ahead, like the World Youth Championships and the World Junior the following year in 2006. So I needed actually a good support for training to be able to manage.
benefits of transformation.
Do you miss your family?
Yeah, I miss, but you know, since some time we communicate. My dream is to make the Olympic, but it is not granted. It is a must. So it is just a matter of praying God and working hard and to see that we achieve the best.
After an impressive show and training, David Rudisha made it to the World Junior Championships team that was held in Beijing. And he won his race to become the World Junior Champion.
You have a passport? Birth certificate. Birth certificate.
Uko naye?
Unasoma?
Unaye?
Iko wapi?
Nafikiri kwa nyumbani tu.
Nafikiri au
Unaweza leta before Friday. Nyumbani ni wapi?
Vizuri. Na hapa Indo.
Aya.
But you will make?
Will you make it?
Yeah. The first time actually I represented Kenya was in 2005 East Africa Youth Championships in Arusha, and I was able to win a silver medal in 400 meters. I ran, I think, 48 seconds in 400 on a Maram track, and silver again in the mid-lay relay. That time we used to call mid-lay relay, whereby the first run takes the first 100 meters, the second one ran the 200, and I was the third one who ran 300 meters, and then there was the fourth one who did the 400 meters. So I came back with 2 silver, and that's the first time I represented Kenya. And the following year was of course the World Junior in Beijing.
Others thought that would have been the end of Brother Colmes and David Rudisha's partnership. But in 2007, the two decided to work together. Rudisha was now transitioning to the senior team.
If everything is working well for you, so why change? And we were working very well with Brother Colm, and I could see that my future was coming, was improving in athletic, and my future was bright. And this is because Brother Colm was the one who really discovered my real talent, and he decided to support me. In fact, he was very close. He was very close, and we worked together. And I believed in his, in his training, and I believe in him, and I knew that with him I will be able to go far. So that's the reason why I decided even to stay with him after I moved and I graduated to the senior level.
And this is the very day that David had his first senior training under the watchful eye of Brother Colm, who was clearly pushing him.
Just want to see you moving nicely, just to see how you do move. Well, yeah, for 64, 66, maybe 60 is a bit too ambitious for the first stage. But don't worry too much. I mean, it's not a panic if you don't. I'm not worried about. I'm just watching more how you actually run. Maybe he's right. 60 was a bit too ambitious. 60 is for a first run is a bit cracking. But it should be well within his capability, but not maybe at this stage. Maybe I frightened him a bit when I said 60. He was wondering, is this guy correct? This guy is expecting miracles. Oh yeah, 64, so he's okay. I didn't even call it to him, so I don't worry him.
It's not competition! It's not competition! Go train with. Now it's 40.5. Try to understand what is a training, okay? Between 49 and 40 in the middle.
Just from watching the others there, you probably can't help avoiding different coaching methods. You know, and of course every coach has their own. approach. A little bit too fast, Rudisha. Take it easier.
I'm hoping for Olympics Games. I really focus to just want to be there, even if I don't win, you know, just to feel the championships.
December 28, 2007. A day that marked the beginning of 2 months of Kenya's darkest hour. Violence that would see all that we had worked so hard to achieve as a country in over 40 years go down in ashes. Lives were lost. Families were torn apart, as many were left homeless, helpless, and most orphaned.
2008 had a fair share of challenges not only for Rudisha, but also for Kenya. Just fresh from the post-election violence, the king had to deliver for a nation that was burning.
When it comes to dominance of a particular sport on the international stage, few nations can match the recent success of Kenya. After a period of unprecedented political unrest and bloodshed, that quest for Olympic gold carries added meaning.
But sadly for Rudisha, he had his own trouble just 2 weeks before the 2008 National Olympics trials. And with that, he missed the Olympics.
I got an injury a few weeks ago. Yeah, in the calf muscles, in my left leg. I just ran the first 200, and then the muscle too.
Do you still hope to make the Olympics?
We are just praying for the, Olympic. It is tough, but just praying. But we'll do our best if we'll be there.
Rudisha is still young. The doctor advised that if he continues running in that situation, he may injure himself, he may damage his tendon completely. And it's better we keep him off the Olympics. He didn't expect that to happen.
I got injured in one of the last races before I came for the trials. And that was in it was in Ostrava, and I pulled my Achilles. So I came back. It was not that easy. It was tough, and we tried to look for the medical attention, and of course we also rely on doctors' advice that if I keep on training and competing with the same problem, it might also damage the problem more, and that might also affect my future training and my future competition.
It's not only just a physical fitness and an injury-free, but it's also a mental focus that you have to think about.
Okay.
You're still young, you're still somebody who has plenty of time, and really next year is what we are looking at.
Okay.
Good. Don't stand up too quick. I'm okay, you're not.
Rudisha was back for the 2009 World Championships in Berlin, and everybody was anxiously waiting and hoping that the king will be able to start.
Some pressure, but he's in the front at the moment. Here comes Rudisha. Lopez trying to get there. Gary Reid trying to get there. Rudisha struggling. It's only the top two. Lalu's stolen this. Rudisha's faltering at the end, and Lopez gets the second spot. 1:45.28, and I think that's going to mean that only the top two will go through, and that's it.
His tactics were very poor. Very poor. He didn't run well, and you could see he just wasn't up for it at the time. Came third in the semi-finals. The 800 meters is one of the toughest races on the track. You know, even going from semi-final to final, it's only 2. So many people get knocked out in semi-finals of 800, top-class athletes, because they misjudged that two positions. Third, bitterly disappointed.
I was the best in that field, and then just to miss the final, you have to go back and sit and ask yourself, what went wrong? And ask yourself what can be done to improve from such mistake. Because at some point, yes, it was, championship is a tactical race. And going there, you always want to make, and the same is tough, because you have to be in the first top two to make to the final. And especially in 800 meters. In 800 meters and the sprints, you have to be in the top two in the semi-final. And then the two best losers. So I think I was running from behind tactically. And I used to sprint toward the end. But that day, when I tried to sprint, I was not moving, I was not reacting.
A disappointment that required a drastic action. And from a tactical approach of running his races from the back, it was now time for Rudisha to lead from gun to tape.
We had to go back to the drawing board and plan, and even at that time, he would have said, oh God, this 800, can I really make it? And I would have even have said, when he finished school, he asked me to continue as his coach. And I would even have said, am I really the right person for Rudisha? Would he be better off have gone away and got a more professional coach? And we sat down after Berlin and we changed our training pattern. We changed our tactics during the race. After that, he ran from the front. That was the tactic. Never be caught behind again. As you know, you saw all these iconic races, all from the front. Gun to tape.
I was running a race that was not mine. So I said, if I have trained, I've prepared myself and I'm ready, I want to run my races. And that's how I changed from running from behind to the front.
A man on a mission he was, and he just kept winning, setting and breaking records at will.
This man finishes the season as the world's best.
We had the Africa Championships in Nairobi, and that's where I think he really showed his paces. He won the Africa Championships so easily in Nairobi. Now, he had been beaten in Berlin the year before in the World Championships. So 3 weeks after winning in Nairobi, I sat down with him in when he was at the warm down track and said, Rudisha, you look fantastic today. That was in Nairobi when he won the Africa Championships. I said, in 3 weeks' time, there's a race in Berlin. The very same track that you were disappointed on. We go back into the lion's den where you were beaten. 3 weeks' time. I said, I think there's something special. He went to Berlin. The rest is history. He broke Wilson Kipketer's world record. A week later, in Rieti, he broke the world record again. And but remember, these races were paced. So it wasn't until 2011 that Rudisha won a major championship race. He won the World Championships in Daegu in South Korea. He kind of put to bed the idea that I can't run championship races. So he had everything together by London.
That year, 2009, I ended up breaking the Africa record, which from Sami Koske, which stood for over 23 years. So you see, I was at least at the end of the year, I achieved something. And in 2009, the motivation that I gained from my confidence also gave me more confidence that next year, being a kind of a more relaxing year, we don't have any major championship in, in 2010. We sat down with my coach at the end of the season and we discussed and we said, next year we want to go for fast races. We want to, that is maybe only our inner secret, that I want even to try the world record. but we never made it public because, you know, sometimes when you give a lot of information outside there to the public, and maybe you don't meet those expectations, you know, sometimes it might just affect you.
But 2012 will forever remain etched in his memory. He was preparing for the race of his life, and others even doubted Rudisha's quest for a world record.
The question many are asking is, can he sustain this performance as we look to the Worlds and Olympics?
There was also a belief in the media around that time, Rudisha, you're able to win pace races. He had a pacemaker called Sami Tanguy. Rudisha can't win championship races. He's not able to go it alone, you know, when it comes to it and when it comes to the crunch.
And saving the last for the fastest, world champion and world record holder in 800 meters, David Lekuta Rudisha, did not break a sweat winning his race with Timothy Kitum and Anthony Chemut grabbing a ticket each to the games.
Nothing is easy, and this is being part of my preparation, and I've really worked hard and I've trained hard, and I'm in a good shape, and that's why you're seeing this performance look easy, but it's take a lot to be in that position.
I was the world champion because I won in Daegu the previous year, and I was the world record holder in 800 meters. And that year I was the world leading time. So every focus was on David Rudisha. So it was not easy, of course, and I knew it would be very disappointing. And I needed to win that Olympic. And the best way, after I sat down, I did all my drawing and going into such a big event whereby there is no room for mistakes. And if you make any simple mistake, you have to go back or you have to wait again. You have to wait again for the next 4 years for the next Olympic.
After 2 vigorous and rigorous days of Olympic trials, Team Kenya has finally been selected and unveiled. 2012 London Olympics, according to the organizers, will see a revamped Kenyan team and a team that is out to make history.
I'm very excited. This is going to be one of my biggest competition, and of course being the world record holder, the world champion, going to Olympic is very important for me because this is the medal that I've been longing for, and it's the only thing that I'm missing in my career.
Rudisha left Kenya for London carrying a Kenyan dream.
David Rudisha.
On your marks.
That was a very, very important race. It was a very important event. And beginning of the year, every single race we ran out there, the Diamond Leagues, we were building up toward the Olympics. There was no any other plan. So everything was just Olympic.
We have something very, very special on here as Amos, the other junior, now comes into second, ahead of our man. But it's Rudisha coming into home straight. We're going to be looking at the time very closely on this one. A brilliant run by the youngster Amos as he comes into second place. The other youngster, Keaton, is in third place now. Then a man, the three youngsters, with Solomon finishing. But Rudisha, what's the time? It's a world record! A world record here in London at the Olympic Games. From the greatest middle distance runner we've seen for a very long time. It's David Rudisha, 1:40.91 is shown on the clock. A full tenth of a second off the world record, and he did it, leading all the way. This is one of the greatest runs we've seen in Olympic history. He's retained his title 50 years after Peter Snell did it, and it's 50 years between Peter Snell's date of birth.
One of the best races. I also admire, even sometimes. I do watch myself, and it's sometimes funny if you watch yourself running, but this is one of the races that I still watch, and I just remember everything, and it's just as fresh as like yesterday, because that is one thing I can say I'm proud of, and I did exactly the way I was thinking, the way I was planning, and everything went as planned. Well, I was expecting, of course, a first time. I was expecting definitely, according to my plan, 141, because that is exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to do 141, but running 140 was also was impressive, and sometimes it comes as a surprise.
One of the great Olympic moments which will go down in the annals and be referred to for years and years to come. This man is the best.
In all this, one man always kept a casted figure and maintained a low profile. Brother Com O'Connell, the coach who never traveled even for a single race outside the country, but he always did his job in a special way.
I don't need to go anywhere else. I didn't need to be in London to see Rudisha running an iconic race. I didn't say, I should have been there, or you should have taken me there, or no. When my athletes develop and grow up and become senior, successful athletes, that's enough for me. That's plenty satisfactory. I don't need any recognition. I don't need any special attention or special position. I don't need it. I would like to be just remembered as somebody who came, did their best, made their contribution, and moved on.
But sometimes I feel like he has a lot of responsibilities back at home, more than he can travel with a few athletes, because Brother Coram runs his camp from almost the whole year, because the senior goes only for a short holiday of about a month or two, and the group was also widely represented in terms of events, because Choge was and Isaac Songok and the others like Mangata and Diwa, those are they used to do the cross country and the indoors, and then outdoors we also have, and then championship. So you see, his program was almost running throughout the year, and you find that in most cases in events, a few athletes go to certain events, and therefore Brother Colm always is busy back at home preparing the others for the next competition and next event. Not forgetting that Brother Colm came to Kenya in the 1970s, and he has spent more than half of his life in Kenya. Brother Colum is a hero because for somebody who has raised many people, you know, through his program and through his mentorship program, I think he deserves to be also celebrated in a special way because so many, you can't find many coaches who have even just handled a number of like 10 or 15 medalists and maybe gold medalists through his program over the years. And if you see, Brother Colum never lost his contacts and touch to the athletes he trained earlier. And every time, you know, we keep on visiting him because he is like a father to us. And he's a hero, and I think it's also good that we also recognize coaches who have achieved that.
After his exploits that saw him clock a world record, in 2013 while running in New York Central Park, Rudisha sustained a right knee injury. He sat out for almost a year, but on his return he won the 2015 World and 2016 Olympics titles.
He is prone to injuries. He even had an injury in 2011 before he went to Daegu. So that was always ever in my mind about when coaching David. David, it was a very delicate balance to get the best out of him without pushing him into the injury territory. You know, there was always that danger with him that he would pick up an injury. However, London, of course, went well, but shortly after London, he ran in New York in 2013. He won but shortly after that, he started complaining about a knee problem, and that was the beginning of his injury situation for the next 2 years, 2013, 2014. He had an injury. He even ran in the Commonwealth in Glasgow, where he was beaten by Amos Nigels, but he was carrying an injury into that. There was a lot of pressure on him to run the Commonwealth. Everybody wanted him to run it. He agreed to run it, but he had an aggravated injury when he was running that Commonwealth. And he kind of got a break then. In 2015, he came back very slowly, ran a few very low-key races. Did not do very well, but then when David made up his mind to do something, he went for it 100%. So I'd say around January, February 2016, he said, I'm going to have a go at Rio. I have 4 months to prepare, and I really go for it. And once he put his mind down to it, he got a new focus, a new motivation, even though he had gone through all these injury issues before that. He kind of said, I'll give it one more go and see can I see what I can do. Again, the rest is history. He got everything right on the day. He didn't run the same time as London because he wasn't in the same shape as London. And people were a little bit surprised, I think, with Rio, that he, after all he had suffered with the injuries, that he could come out in Rio and still run 1:42.1.
Rudisha last raced internationally on July 4, 2017. A quad muscle, back problems, a car crash, and surgery for a broken ankle have seen kept him off the track. And Brother Com believes that the king has nothing more to prove.
People would say, well, would have expectations. If David said, I'm going to come back again, I'm going to run, I'm going to become the 800 meter whatever, champion or whatever, I think people would immediately raise their expectations, raise their hopes. But I think David gave his best when we needed him, and he did us proud, and he achieved so much for the country.
And he asked me that if there is anything else I can do new. And I said, there's nothing. I don't see anything new. Because if it is world title, you already have it. If it is Africa Championship, you already have it. If it is the world record, and you also want male athletes of Olympics, the best male athletes of Olympic Games, the best male athlete of the year, IAAF. So he told me, what else will you do? So interesting. Everything else is just repeating, and I think it's a best thing to hear it coming from your coach, who has raised you from young age as a youth all the way to the senior. It means that I have also done my part, and sometimes it's not easy for anyone to tell you something like that.
But for David Lekuta Rudisha, he has not yet downed his running tools.
I broke my fibula. I had a fracture, and it's taking longer than I expected. But I hope when that is completely addressed, the issues completely addressed, then I'll see if I can come back. Of course, you don't have, this is athletics, and even we have seen so many athletes who have done their best in track and in sport. And when it comes to the time you want to retire, you retire in your own way, and because that is the time also you have to reflect on what you have achieved. But until that time comes, I have not retired.
Will David Rudisha ever run again? You might just want to answer that, but this is what his tactician had to say.
I doubt it myself. I mean, if he's realistic about his career and about his ability, I think it would be sad to see a David Rudisha come back and struggle, because I think he has created such an iconic image of himself, to the public and even to the world of athletics.
Just as many other spectators, Rudisha is closely following the happenings at the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. And whether he runs again or not, King David has done duty for this country. But the question is, who will sit next to the king on the throne? Moses Wahisi, KTN News.